You already know what I'm gonna say. Molweni, sanbonani, hola, uzit, mocha kanjani, everybody. It's your boy Londi, and welcome back to the channel. So I've been wanting to make a video about this for the longest time right now, and I haven't been quite able to figure out the right way in which to actually say this. First and foremostly, before we actually continue into the video, I would like everybody that's watching this to know that this is an opinion piece, okay? This is an opinion piece, so don't come at me in the comments. And before you also talk about the fact that, oh my god, he's wearing such a tight shirt, shut up. Shut up. Kushushu. And then on top of that, I'm in this non-air conditioned hot ass flat. I'm veering off, so let's get back to the conversation. So I personally believe that the South African intellectualism landscape is actually on a downslide. When I say South African intellectualism, I'm not just talking about intellectualism as a whole. I'm specific. I'm not speaking about the entire collective of intellectualism and intellectuals within South Africa, even all the way down in history. I'm speaking specifically about modern day intellectualism, specifically the youth. But the question becomes, why do I say this? Now, in my observation of intellectualism nowadays, I've come to realize intellectualism more and more nowadays, it's becoming a class kind of thing. I don't want to lie, I'm also somebody that actually contributed to this in the sense that I always looked down on people who weren't acting in an intellectual manner, who weren't pushing to be intellectuals themselves. And for those that don't know what intellectualism is, the definition is the exercise of intellect at the expense of emotions. That is the Google definition. So to break it down, it's basically the ability to think or discuss a subject in a detailed and intelligent way without involving emotions or feelings. Now, that's just intellectualism in its entirety. I feel as though intellectualism has moved away from that definition in and of itself, and it's become more politicized. And I'm not gonna say that they're wrong for that. I'm not gonna be criticizing the politicizing. I hate English. I'm not gonna be criticizing the politicizing. Damn! I'm not gonna be criticizing the politicization of intellectualism. God. Sorry. So that's not what I'm talking about right now. As I said, I feel like intellectualism nowadays, it's become ye ruling class, in the sense that on the internet, specifically TikTok, because that is where a lot of God damn it! I hate this language. Specifically on TikTok, right? Where there's a lot of discussion amongst young people about the concept of intellectualism, right? Intellectualism in that broad space is politicized and pushed towards a classist agenda. That is my opinion. What do I mean by this? A lot of young people now are actually pressing other young people for not being intellectuals. Again, I was one of those people that actually contributed to this, and I've realized that it's actually wrong. Because here's the thing, we can't expect everybody in South Africa to be an intellectual or to push to be politically, to be a political intellectual or socio-economic intellectual or socio-politics intellectual, because we have not fully even addressed the issue that is inequality in South Africa. And in not addressing the issue that is inequality in South Africa, we cannot fully expect people to make intellectual decisions or to make or to engage in intellectual conversation, because abantu are not at the capacity to have those conversations. Imagine I come to you and I tell you, Ndobana, I want you to think about everything and then like A, B, C, and D. Kodwa ulambile. You are most likely going to cuss me out. that is exactly what is going to be happening, because what you are thinking in your head, you are thinking about food, you are thinking about surviving, you are thinking about the next day, right? And I can't blame people for putting people in boxes, and I can't blame people for thinking about how they're going to survive, because that is the current landscape that is South Africa, right? In the sense that we are trying to push people to think more critically about things, to not use their emotions, to not use impulses, but we cannot fully expect them to actually make those rational decisions, because kwabona they have been put in a negative standpoint or in a negative position. Yabo? That's just the gist of politics. It's why I don't like politics or geopolitics or any form of politics, okay? It's why I really, really hate the entire concept, because I'm gonna say it like it is. Politicians do not give a damn about you. They do not give a damn about you. But you know what they give a damn about? Your vote. Your vote. Right? And I'm gonna be opinionated, and I'm gonna say it like it is. Politicians do it on purpose, that they keep people in low income positions. They keep people in positions of need, because they want people to be in awe of them when they seem as though they are delivering services, so it seems like they're doing something, so that they can get those people's votes. Now, let's backtrack back to the conversation of intellectualism. Intellectualism, or modern day intellectualism up in South Africa, is absolute. My mom is not going to like me cursing, but I actually have to stress the fact that it is absolute into yalapha eMzantsi Afrika. Why? Because it does not approach the entire concept of intellectualism holistically. Yabo, in the sense that we just read Ndobana, intellectualism is exercising ingcingo zakho, ingcamango zakho at the expense of emotions zakho okanye imvakalelo. Usebenzisa ukuqiqa kunokuba usebenzise imvakalelo. That is the entire point of intellectualism. You are being an intellectual. You are being intelligent, so to speak, ngokwesingesi. Yabo, and we really aren't approaching it holistically. I see so many content creators out there who are basically putting out these think pieces to get people to be more intellectual without really approaching it from the very, very standpoint of, hey, I'm privileged. Sorry. That probably sounded horrible. I'm privileged, and thus I have the ability to think about these things. But the next person, akanayo lo ability. They don't have that ability, because they're thinking about what they're going to eat the next day. They're thinking about how they're going to have to hustle in order to make money, to make ends meet, to survive up in this landscape. And honestly, I can't blame people for not being intellectuals. I really, really can't blame people for not being intellectuals. I was wrong for actually blaming them for not being intellectuals. I was very wrong about that. And one way in which we can approach the concept of pushing intellectualism towards abantu ukubana masithethe ulwimi lwabo, we have to speak in their languages. Yabo, for like on my TikTok, I used to be pissed every single time there was somebody who was like yeah, asikuzwa baba khuluma isiZulu. I used to think those people were just being obnoxious, and now I have come to realize no, they're not being obnoxious. The current socio-economic standing that they have has pushed them into they cannot focus on into education bafunde isingesi. They can't focus on education so that they learn English. They don't have that opportunity. What can we do as intellectuals? As intellectuals, when we present ideologies or certain ideas, we have to present it in their language. We have to understand that grassroots approaches are very, very important. And right now, andiyiboni mnalondo. All throughout TikTok, what I have concurrently or repetitively seen, iyaphinda again and again and again. Nethi bekanti ndibona umuntu oyi-intellectual or a young South African that is an intellectual uthetha isingesi. And like dead ass, those people who are speaking Setswana, who are speaking Sesotho, who are speaking isiZulu, those people ne abasiva isingesi okanye abasiva kakuhle. We can't really be calling people out there and we say ndobana they are not intellectuals. There's probably this is the concept that I love, especially about the idea of education, yabona, and teaching umdana, and teaching a kid into ye education ngokolwimi lwakhe, yabo, teaching, like educating a kid about mathematics, going ngesiXhosa, educating a kid about mathematics ngokwesiZulu. Oftentimes you have abantu abadala saying ndobana, oh, what is Zulu going to do for you? What is Xhosa going to do for you? Everything! You grow up in a Xhosa context. Awukhulelanga esuburbsini, ukhulele elokishini. Yes, you were sent to the suburbs to learn English. But does that mean you're not going to learn your own language? No. I feel like I'm veering off Apanapayana, but I'm trying to get that point across. I'm trying to get that point across about intellectualism and the fact that we have to approach this in a more holistic way. When we push intellectual education on the internet, it has to be in the sense that, okay, these people are probably hungry. These people are probably in pain. Yabo, and that's they see this guy who's a politician, they see this guy who's a big yabo, and they hear what this guy is saying, and this guy is saying these things in their language. Don't forget that, because politicians don't just approach people in English, they approach people in their language. And what we must do as individual intellectuals when we actually try to educate others about intellectualism and yabo ngokwengqondo kunokuba umuntu aqiqe ngokwemvakalelo ukuba nafuneke thina nathi sithethe ngolwimi lwabo. We have to speak in those people's languages. Yabo, and we also have to be mindful about the fact that, hey, these people aren't thinking about these things that we're thinking about right now. They're thinking about what they're going to eat. They're thinking about what job they're going to have to do next. Yayibona londo. Yayibona lon. Like, I'm going to keep pushing and saying it. Modern day South African intellectualism is rooted in the difference of class. It is rooted in the difference of class. And until we can truly approach it from a standpoint that is beyond into ye class, yabo, beyond the perspective of privilege, sithethe nabantu ngokwelwimi like in their languages, man. Yo, ndizamuthetha ngokukhawuleza into bana, yeah, I'm feeling it, I'm in that mode. It's just I've been thinking about this and I've been wanting to make a video ngayo for the longest time. And I understand ndobana we went to Model C schools, but nathi ke ukubalekile ndobana xa sizosithetha eso singesi when we're busy teaching people about the ideas of intellectualism or intellectual ideology, nathi we have to be careful in also the way that we approach it. Because kumbula kaloku, as much as that kid learned English in school, the way that they pronounce certain words and the way that we pronounce certain words is going to be slightly different. So yabona, like the way that I'm speaking right now, I have an accent. That is because growing up, I consumed a lot of Western media. Yabo? Like right now, ndiyazama by all means indobana to consume more African media, to consume more like global South kind of media. Yayibona, and funeke si understand nalo indobana njengoba sinezo accent, and I'm not saying that it's everybody, but a lot of young intellectuals out there speak with an accent. If you can speak with less of an accent, and here's the thing about this whole accent thing and the way and what, it's all about credibility, which is also rooted in the colonial like mindset. You must decolonize your mind. Bruh, because like Yo, dude, kuningi. I'm telling you, kuningi, bruh. Kuningi. Ininzi into ndifuna ukuyithetha. Yabo? And right now I'm very all over the place, but I believe that I'm getting my message across. Uyayiva lento niyayiva lento ndiyithethayo. Ne? Because especially about the whole language thing, I want to make two examples. Like the language and accent thing. I want to make two examples. Often umntu is designated as smart ngento bana ikwazi uthetha isingesi. Oh, you went to a model C school. A person can be able to speak fluent English. Abe dumb. I'm telling you this right now. A person can be getting straight A's and 7s in high school and A pluses. Abe dumb. And when I say dumb, I don't mean like in an insulting way, but like in the sense that like akwazi uqiqa. Yabo? Akanayo la nto eqiqisayo wenza ubetha njengovuka zenzele. They just it's touches move, just go. You see that? Being capable of speaking English is not a determinant for intelligence. Being like coming from Model C background is not a determinant for intelligence. Yabo? A child, like there is most likely a kid in a Zulu or a Xhosa school out there who is most likely going to be one of the richest people in South Africa. Why? Because uhlakaniphile usmart lamdan. Qha ke ngoku ingxaki into bana akanayo opportunity because akanayo into etheni privilege. They don't have opportunity because they don't have what is called privilege. Like you like am I making sense right now? Am I making sense in this whole intellectualism conversation? I don't want to be like I'm just slamming South African intellectuals or like young South African intellectuals, like I'm just slamming them and I'm not providing any insight as to how we can like fix the entire issue. And you know what? Yeah. I believe I've made my point. As much as young South African intellectuals, like not too long ago, ne? And here, it's not to say that a lot of people in South Africa don't understand English, ne? They understand isingesi, kodwa not to the degree of lona usithethayo. Not to the degree of lona usithethayo. Oh, Londi, if they don't understand it, why don't they apply themselves and learn English? Privilege, opportunity, economic instability. Are you clicking? Is it clicking right now? Huh? Like to progress. Like, and to progress, we need to change we need to change the landscape. We need to level the playing field completely. Like, it's just, I don't like scripting my videos. I like speaking off of the dome. Yeah, but so you're gonna have me, you're gonna find a lot of the time, like, ndilahlekelwe train of thought ningakwazi ukuthetha, and then I'm going to pause here and there. I may cut some places or I might just leave them in the video. But it's just, we have to completely change the way that we see things. Originally, I used to be someone who thought like, okay, we need reform, ne? Okay, we have the current structure, we have the bones, but we just need to change the meat. But the thing that I've realized, Ndobana, unless you root out the problem, it will still stay there. Just because amathambo lana, okay, let's use lomzekelo of meat and bones, right? You have a body. that body has osteoporosis. Just because you change the flesh and the meat of that body does not change the fact that their bones have osteoporosis. And it took me a long time to realize that. Now I've realized that, and it's actually clicking. Now the step forward, it's not going to necessarily start with intellectualism, but intellectualism ingasiqala. That that can be a start. Intellectualism, like the change to how approach into intellectualism, ingaqala apho. Yintoni unobangela into bana majority of the conversations that we have about intellectualism or intellectual topics, we have them in English. Except mna into endiyiqwanelayo xa ndihleli nechomi ethile and say maybe like my friend is Xhosa or my friend is Zulu. We have the ability to speak in English, yeah, but you know what? Let's try speaking in our own native languages. Oh, certain words aren't available in our own native languages, so asizokwazi ukuyicacisa into ethile. We're not going to be able to describe a certain thing. Find a way. Speak it in your mother tongue. Because now this also leads into the conversation of cultural erasure. And this is a very topsy-turvy and up and down kind of conversation, especially when we go into the realm of cultural erasure. Yinto is serious leyo. That is very, very, very serious business. Cultural erasure. Because like one person is gonna say, different cultures are like keeping us divided. You know, we need unity. We need to be like damn. we need to be like a hive mind. Yeah, bo. But the thing is, we can't escape those differences. We lose culture, we lose identity. And a prime example of this, it's not just lose culture, lose identity. Lose culture, lose differences, lose different opinions, and thus we lose different approaches. We don't really grow stronger. Differences make us stronger. And a prime example for this is in biology. It's in biology. Because when in animals, if DNA does not differentiate and create different species over time, the entire existence of that genus, of that animal, will be wiped out. In the same way, if we don't have varying opinions that we can weigh in and build a stronger sense of unity, right? We are not going to go far. And this is where that separation between thinkers and non-thinkers. And I'm trying to approach this in the best way possible to push it away from Indoye class. Because I've come to realize that a lot of young people in South Africa who are intellectuals, who don't just say that they're intellectuals, who actually are intellectuals, it's either they don't take it into account completely or they don't take it into account fully that they are capable of being those intellectuals because they have privilege, because their parents... Well, your parents working hard to put you in a good position, that's privilege. One way or another, you can't escape the conversation of privilege. I am privileged because my mom decided to get up and wabona indobana. No, man. This is not what I want for my kids. Oh, well, she does. I'm her only son. I'm her only son. So... she was like, no, man, this is not what I want for my kid. This is not what I want for me. Yeah, bo. My mom, I'm privileged because my mother was able to do that. Other parents want to do that, but they don't have that opportunity. They don't have that willpower. And thus, their kids aren't as privileged as other kids are. Like... in this entire holistic approach, when we discuss intellectualism or intellectual topics, the word that I'm looking for is it's mindfulness. Ukuba sizawucingisisa funeke sifuna abanye abantu baqiqe bangathethi ngokwemvakalelo zabo, nathi funeke sibacingele. We have to be mindful in the way that we approach these things. It's just like, yo, bro. And another thing that I've realized, and the thing that what I've realized is because recently I was on my Instagram. I was scrolling through my Instagram, and a post by Women for Change actually, like, it caught my eye. But the main thing that caught my eye is, like, the post was basically about the amount of reach that Women for Change got between month A and month B within 2025 or going into 2026. I'm not very sure on the specific statistics, but that's what the post was about. What caught my eye ngokubenjonga le post is into yokubana ithi le post in a time where activism or digital activism is seen as performative. That caught that lando indibambile. Yabo? Because ngokwala si approacha ngayo into intellectualism and us approaching it in a non-holistic way, a lot of people who are pushing to be intellectuals are not pushing to be intellectuals because befuna ukufunda, bekuthanda ukufunda, kwaye befuna ukufundisa. They are pushing to be intellectuals so that they are received in a much brighter light by general society, in thus making the act of intellectualism performative. Because if we do not approach intellectualism holistically, if we are not mindful, if I say approaching into bana sithethe languages okanye ngolwimi lwabantu, the various languages that people are speaking in, is it really intellectualism? Because now sesithetha asisathethi ngoku nomuntu wonke, sithetha naba bakwazi ukuyiva lento sithethayo. We're no longer speaking with everyone and thus trying to push into yobu intellectual. We're speaking with only those who understand. And not only those who understand, but only those who understand well or well enough. So again, that begs the question, Bana, what's the point? What's the point? Ukuba inani labantu elincinci lilo liqondayo lento ethethwayo, ayijiki nix, akukho nto izayijika. Yes, there are millions who are educated, who are capable of understanding. But what about the billions? Sorry, Chichi. Sorry, that's my cat. Goddamn Hashem. He's busy sleeping here. Hey, you know what? Cats are the laziest animals on earth, bro. Cats are the laziest animals on earth. I wish I'm gonna take a picture and I'm gonna put a picture up here right now. But I think I'm making sense. I hope I'm making sense. I really, really hope that I'm making sense. Because if only a few understand, then what's the point? In English, kuthiwa bana, it's all for naught. Ayithethi into, ayenzi into. Unless that minority has the power to skillfully take control of the economy and society and indlela abantu abacinga ngayo naba-acta ngayo, and they are able to take the entire system and flip it on their head, then it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. The minority that is a part of the majority must work along with the vast majority all at once, and we cannot do that unless wonke umntu is on board. I'm not somebody like, I consider myself an intellectual in the sense that mna ndiyakuthanda ukufunda. Ne? And when we approach conversations like these, we have to approach them without emotion. I seem very emotional right now because I'm like, ndiyaphunguphunguza, ndiyangxola, but I'm emotional in the sense that I'm enjoying this conversation right now. I'm enjoying speaking like this. Yeah, but it's not like I'm speaking like, oh my God, you're intellectuals? Is it intellectual? Oh, for sec. I hate you guys. No, I'm detecting a lot. Ne? I don't hate the guys who are intellectuals out there. I just want them to be better intellectuals. Ndifuna baqhubekeke ngalento bayenzayo kodwa ndifuna bayenze kubhetele kunale ndlela bayenza ngayo. Ne? And one thing about us as the youth in South Africa, we are captured. We uzayibona kakhulu into bana the old heads or like the pre-2Ks, they're always gonna say ubani, especially when they're talking about this in politics and whatnot. They're always gonna say, oh ubani, oh they've been captured. But bangayicacisi nobana what that means. I'm gonna explain to you like right what that means. As the youth of South Africa, yes, we have been captured. We have been captured in the sense that there is not enough intellectual content out there. But you know what is out there? Stupid entertaining content. And you know why people enjoy low stupid entertaining content? Because iyabafikelela ngokolwimi lwabo nangokwemvakalelo zabo. The content creators out there, bathetha isingesi, kodwa they flip in between londo yothetha isingesi bathethe in their own language, and thus they are able to get an audience. So back to lento abendithetha, ne? Mna ndisconsider andifuna nothetha broken English man. Lento yofunda isingesi, English is a universal language, but now I have my own. But the more ufunda ngehistory, the more you become biased to something. Why am I speaking in this accent right now? I don't know. I'm in the flow state right now. I'm in my flow state right now. God, the more you learn about history, the more biased you become. Yeah, and I'm really trying not to be biased, and I'm really trying to approach things in an intellectual way. Yeah, with being void of emotion. But it's a universal language, but I sick of English. So I consider myself an intellectual in the sense that not because like, oh, I'm thinking better than this person. No. Bruh, I will keep hammering down. I was wrong. I admit that I was wrong. I was approaching this entire intellectual conversation the wrong way. I was approaching it from a point of privilege. Ne? Again, I consider myself an intellectual because I like to learn. Ne? I like to make decisions as much as I can, not based off of information, but off of knowledge. Yeah, you see what I mean when I'm talking about English? I like to make decisions not based off of emotion or imvakalelo, but isikakhulu ngokwengqiqo, of which that's intelligence, of which that's thinking. Ne? And I'm not very well read in communism or Marxism. Ne? But we are having this conversation about the fact that intellectualism has become a conversation of into class, levels of class, levels emfundo, levels empumelelo. Yabo, the more we are diving into this conversation, we actually can take reference from communism, specifically Marxism or Marxism. There's a lot of isms, man. There's a lot of isms out there. So what does Marxism i-Marxism isifundisa ntoni ne isisingesi ke lento kodwa ngizama ukuyicacisa kangako ndinako ngolwimi lwami of which ke that is Xhosa. I-Marxism icacisa into bana within any given economy ne kukho i-levels class and kakade siyazi lonto apha eMzantsi Africa. We already know this in South Africa ne we know that there's different levels of class because ininzi inequality. So there's the bourgeoisie of which thina ngeXhosa sithi ama-bourgeois. I don't know why we ever let that go. Andiyazi bra umamamu like yesterday when ngokube sincokola lento wangikhumbuza into bana hey there's eligama lithi ubu-bourgeois of which that word comes from bourgeoisie which is a word in Marxism ne there's bourgeoisie ama-bourgeois of which also abo intellectuals abo nyefelelele that's not a real close words aba banemali yabo top then we have the proletariat or the working class ne umntu ke oyi proletariat general sitho working class it's in between it's the middle class ne the middle class and then there is the lumpen proletariat. Now the lumpen proletariat abo bantu are the lower class. Isikakhulu ibangabantu who are down on their luck abangakwaziyo to progress within the current economic space yabo or whatever space it may be, and isikakhulu generally aba bantu bajongelwa phansi in society ne these are people who are criminals who are it's the criminals, it's people who engage in drugs. It's basically the people who are too poor to even engage in intellectual conversation. Like, and gabo bantu ke who are the vast majority. Yabo? The common misconception is that the majority is the proletariat, when in reality, wege fine uninzi lwabantu they are the proletariat, but the real majority is the lumpen proletariat. People have to actually end up resorting to crime. People have to end up working low-income jobs so that bazokwazi ukuzityisa so that they can feed themselves. Those people are the real majority. You see? And it's just those. You see, I've now lost my train of thought. I've lost my train of thought. Man, like I was speaking about learning, and the thing that we should look towards is Marxism is ohlula ngolo hlobo yabo. And when we approach into intellectualism or intellectualism up in South Africa, we should be approaching it holistically, and we should be looking at it from the perspective of Marxism. I'm not saying be Marxist. I'm saying be intellectual enough to learn so that you don't just ne. And if uzoba intellectual, zininzi izinto funeka ube kanti uyazijonga. There, if you're going to be an intellectual, you have to be on the lookout for a lot of things. Like, if you're going to be an intellectual, you have to look out for cognitive bias, ne? There's this other form of bias where confirmation bias. So many intellectuals out there, or people who consider themselves intellectuals, they fall victim to into your confirmation bias. Umntu une belief anayo elapha kuye ngaphakathi, ne? And imfundo ayifundelayo akafundi kuba efuna ukuyi-understand lento. That person isn't learning because they want to understand this thing. They want to learn in order to confirm their bias, which you can't do that because it makes you less of an intellectual. And into your cognitive bias, what that means is that damn, you know what cognitive bias means, Ndobana? You believe two things that it shouldn't be going on. My camera battery is about to die, but I believe I've made my point. So I want you to quickly go down into the comments and tell me what you think about this entire conversation about intellectualism in South Africa. Do you believe that it's different, or am I wrong? Am I right? Whatever it is. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video so that I know I can make more of this content, because I enjoy making this kind of content. Oh, guys, let me love and leave you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day going forward, but my battery's gonna die. Otherwise, this has been Ulondi. Thank you for sticking and watching this video to the end, and shabzin, guys.